Okay, hi, and welcome to the Liceo Math Club YouTube channel, where you'll see free video tutorials in senior high school math subjects. This is A, the club's moderator, and today we'll be presenting a topic in general mathematics, that is in the basic business mathematics chapter, specifically the ordinary and exact interest. This is under the simple interest topic. Okay, this video must be right after our treasurer and PIO, that's Chester Bacus and Jeremy Sanisel's batch of videos under simple interest. Okay, so let's get started. Recall that our simple interest formula, I equals PRT, that is, simple interest equals principal amount times the rate of interest times time, where time is in years. But in real life, when we apply this to practice, we don't really wait for years to have interest. How about if we're going to earn interest on a daily basis? So this lesson will surely walk you through it. Okay, so when the loan term is given in days, we denote that as capital letter D. Our T, time, may be expressed in two ways, either of the two ways. T is equal to D over 360, that is for ordinary interest, or T equals D over 365 for exact interest. This is called ordinary interest because we're assuming that for every month there are 30 days. So, 30 days a month times 12 months a year, that's going to give us 360 days in a year. That is for ordinary interest. For exact interest, so from the name itself, it's exact. We know in our science that we have 365 and a quarter days to revolve around the sun. So that's 365 and a quarter for a year. We try to round off that quarter, and then we're going to have this 365 to have a whole number. Okay? Now, unless specified in any problem, the simple interest to be computed is ordinary interest. Okay, so if, for example, if we're given a problem and then there are a number of days given, but there's no specific type of interest to use, so we're going to use ordinary interest for that one. Okay, so let's have some examples here before we proceed to the other lesson. So number one, how much interest is due on a loan of 2,000 pesos at 6.8% annual interest for 90 days? Now, how about using exact interest? So we're going to write this in a form wherein we're going to clearly do this step by step. That is, we're going to put it in given, required, and solution manner. Some know it as gas, given, ask, solution. Either way, it's still the same thing. Okay, the required is just, the ask is just changed to required anyways. So we're going to write the given here. So for the given, number one, of course, it's very clear that we can see that we have a 2,000 pesos here. What is this 2,000? This is our principal amount. That is the loan that you got. That's 2,000 pesos. What else is the given? So we can see the number of days. We have, let's call that as D, 90 days. That's our D, number of days. And then lastly, it's very clear that we can see here that we have 6.8% as our interest rate. Rates are always in percent form. But it's very handy if we're going to convert that percent form into decimal form, because when we apply it in calculation, it's much better to put it in decimal form just to be sure that we are not missing something, not missing transferring of decimal points. So remember, I believe you know this, how to transform a percent form into a decimal form. So we're just going to move the decimal point twice going to the left. So 1, 2, that's why we have 0.068. Okay, so we're done with the given. Let's start with our required. So in our first question, we're just asked what is the interest for 90 days. There's no specific type of interest stated. Therefore, this is one specific example when we're not given any type of interest. So we are going to use ordinary here, okay, since it's not given. So required versus ordinary interest. Let's denote, this is just a denotion, by the way. So other books may denote it in some other ways, but I'm going to use here I sub O for ordinary interest. Okay, for us not to be confused with exact interest. Okay, so here we have IO, which is understood to be ordinary interest because there's no signal used or sign used, whether exact or interest is going to be used. Then our second question, how about exact interest? So i.e., this is again just denotion. Other books may use other denotions. So we have exact interest. Okay, so we have our given and required. Let's start with our solution. So we are asked about the interest, so only the interest. So recall our formula for the interest, I equals PRT, but specifically our T will be changed into not simply as number of years, but we're given number of days. So since we're asked the I sub O, let's just denote our T as here. So I sub O equals PRT, and then change the T into D over 360. Recall in our previous slide, we changed this whenever we have ordinary interest. So P times R times D over 360. So substitute, the P is 2000 from here. Our R is 0.068, and our D is 90 from the given. And then let's do the calculation here. Well, you could use the calculation, or rather, you could use a calculator in answering the calculation here. Normally, we allow the use of calculators in business mathematics because our main focus here is not about the calculation. So if you're going to look at this calculator, this is merely arithmetic. So we're just adding, multiplying, dividing, subtracting numbers, simple as it is. But our main focus here in the business mathematics is not about calculations. It's about understanding and analyzing the problem and how to attack it. Okay, so normally we allow the use of calculator, so you as well there can use your calculators to solve this one. Okay, since again, our focus is the analysis of the problem, not on calculations. Because you know calculations from your elementary days going to your junior high school days, so this is senior high school now. Okay, so what's the answer? So using my calculator, I use a calculator myself. So your I sub O is 34 pesos. One more thing in business mathematics, the unit is very important. Okay, because we're talking about currency here, so you should know 34 pesos. Okay, so that's for your number one solution. That is if you're asked for the I sub O. How about if you're asked for the I sub E? So the same thing happens, only that our time this time is not over 360. It's gonna be over 365 since it's exact. Okay, so from our previous slide, we see that the exact time is 365 and not 360. So the same thing, substitute the P, substitute the R, substitute the D, and then our denominator is just changed to 365. Okay, do the calculations on your own, on your calculators, and then voila, what we have is 33.53 pesos, or 32 pesos and 53 centavos, either way. Okay, so what is your ordinary interest? If this is what is happening, it's going to be 34 pesos. If it's exact interest, it's going to be 33.53 pesos. Okay, so that's for number one. We're going to number two now. So number two, Nick borrowed 8,000 pesos at 7% per year. Okay, so let's assume that 7% is the rate. Well, it's in percent form, so 7% per year. Even though there's no word rate, we know 7% is the rate. Okay, how much should he pay after 100 days using exact interest? Okay, so from the first question, we are very clearly stated, it's very clearly stated that we're going to use exact interest here. Now, in the second question, how about using ordinary interest? So we're going to use exact and ordinary. So let's start the given. So first given is very clear. Our principal amount is 8,000. Next is how many days is Nick does it last for this kind of interest? Okay, so Nick is given how many days? So that's 100 days. There you go, 100 days. So put D as the number of days there, and then our R is 0.07. That is after transferring this into a decimal form. So move the decimal point twice going to the left, and then you'll have 0.07 in decimal form. Okay, so what is required here in number two? So if we're going to read the problem, Nick borrowed 8,000 pesos at 7% per year. How much should he pay after 100 days using exact interest? So the statement here, how much should he pay? So we're going to ask ourselves, is that only the interest? So when you pay a loan, will you pay only the interest? Probably not. So you're going to pay the interest plus your loan amount, right? So your loan amount, you need to pay that back, okay, plus the additional interest. So what do we call the principal? The principal, your original loan amount plus your interest. We call that your final amount. Okay, let's denote that as F here. And then since we're asked about the exact interest, so we're going to denote that as FE, the final amount of using exact interest. Okay, so in some books it's called A for accumulated amount. Some books it's called M for maturity amount or a maturity value. So we're going to call this future amount or future value. Okay, so future value using exact interest. Okay, so what's the second question? We're going to write future value using ordinary interest. Okay, now let's start with the solution with our first question. So our F sub E, so future value using exact interest solution. So there's a shortcut in using this, but I'm going to answer this step by step. That is, I'm going to get the interest first. After getting the interest, I'm going to get the future value then by adding the principal with the interest. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with getting the interest first. So interest is I sub E. So we're going to use I sub E. So since it's exactly the denominator should be 365. So P times R times D over 365. P is 8,000. R is 0.07. D is 100. And that is over 365. So substitute. Use your calculators to do this stuff. So what we have in I sub E is 153 pesos and 42 cents. That's your interest after 100 days. So how much do you need to pay back? How much does Nick need to pay back after 100 days? So your principal plus your interest, right? So we're going to write that as FE. So that is your principal plus your interest is equal to 8,000 plus 153.42. That's your interest here. So your FE is, well, you just simply add them. So we have 8,153 pesos and 42 centavos. So that's your answer for number 1 for this FE here, F sub E. Okay, so let's answer F sub O. It's not gonna fit, so let's move this above. So we're going to answer now F sub O. Again, I'm going to show you that in a step-by-step manner. First up, I'm going to get the interest, and then I'm going to get the future value. So interest first. So I sub O. The only difference between this and this is that the denominator is 360, so it's not 365. So substitute. You know the values. Take it from here. P is 8,000, thus. R is 0.07, thus. D is 100, thus. And use your calculator to calculate this. So we have our I sub O is 155 pesos 56 cents. Actually, this is continuing to be 55555. So you know it's default that when we are rounding off in the centavos, we're going to round off in the hundredths place since our currency stops with the nearest centavo, correct? So we don't have a third digit in our currency. So it's only until the hundredths place. That's the second decimal place. Okay, that's how far our money or our currency can get. So we have the interest, that's 155.56, and we're going to get the future amount now using the ordinary interest. So P plus I, same as this, as above. So 8,000 plus a different interest now. So that's 155 pesos 56. And then add them, simply we're going to get 8,155 pesos and 56 cents. And that's our answer for your final amount under the ordinary interest. Okay, so hopefully you get it now, how to solve the ordinary and exact interests. And that will be the end of our video today. So thank you for watching this video. We're still uploading more tutorial videos actually, so subscribe and hit the like button below. Okay, so if you have some comments, please feel free to comment down below. We're also in Facebook, so this is our link, www.facebook.com/Liceo Math Club. There. So thank you. We will be uploading more tutorial videos. The Liceo Math Club is actually now working at home right at the moment and then uploading videos, trying to upload a lot of videos for you guys. Okay, so thanks a lot.